Let's talk a little bit about crowdfunding and the IMN Conference and what you're going to be talking about there.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be talking about crowdfunding. You sort of hit the nail on the head there. And, beyond crowdfunding, I think that it's an even broader topic around online capital markets. So using the internet to raise money for real estate transactions. And it could be a broad range of real estate transactions. It could be using the internet to raise debt capital, and it could be using the internet to raise equity capital as well.
Okay. And is that it? You're going to spend an hour just saying that?
Well, if I told you everything, there would be no reason to attend.
I think we could do a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that, we're also going to be talking about the differences between the regulations. So using Reg B 506B versus Reg D 506C, and sort of the implications when you use Reg D 506C, which allows for general solicitation and general marketing. So the difference when you're going to market your offerings on the internet versus, share your offerings on the internet but not outwardly market them. And, one of the things that we've experienced at our own company is doing this firsthand. So we did a Reg D 506C transaction for the Hard Rock Hotel in Palm Springs. And it was the first operating hotel that had been crowdfunded in the country. And, we learned firsthand kind of the pitfalls and the challenges around doing general solicitation and general marketing, and also the great joys of doing that. So the ability to drive a lot of traffic and the ability to drive a lot of investors who otherwise would have no idea that this investment opportunity existed.
Let's talk a little bit about the pitfalls. What did you learn? Yeah, because I've got to tell you, I've regretted this my whole life, but I learned by making mistakes. I mean, I've got the bruises and the broken bones from it. So, to the extent that you can talk about some of the bruises or the things that you learned from the first crowdfunding project, why don't you let us know?
Yeah, I think one of the things we learned is that it's a suboptimal client experience. So when you have an investor who's got, $5, $10, $15 million in assets under management, and you start digging into their personal financial statement and you start asking questions around, I want to see your tax returns, I want to see your liabilities, I want to run your credit, I want to talk to your CPA, I want to talk to your attorney. I would say that those clients do not take that lightly. That is a very private piece of their person, if you will, and clients don't want to give that information away freely. A lot of them find the request to be entirely inappropriate. As a company like ours, we're striving to be at the highest degree of regulation. And regulation is really important to us, and we really believe in regulation and being regulated and working in a regulated environment across the SEC and across FINRA. So we have to do this from a compliance perspective. And yet we realized really quickly in doing crowdfunding for the Hard Rock Hotel that it's a subpar client experience. Even, interacting with their CPA or their law firm isn't a great experience because you have to train that accountant or you have to train that law firm on what it is you're asking for, potentially what their liability is. So if you get an accountant to sign off or an attorney to sign off, they're now taking on some liability, which, sometimes they're comfortable with, other times they're not comfortable with. But I think holistically, it was not a great experience for our clients to do their accreditation validation. To actually do the validation was challenging.
Now, how does that differ? How does crowdfunding, doing that validation for crowdfunding, how does that differ from any other investment that is regulated?
So it's really the difference. They kind of both fall in the crowdfunding bucket. It's really the difference between Reg D 506B and Reg D 506C. So, I would argue that both you can do crowdfunding, both you can raise capital for on the internet, but the difference is that with a Reg D 506B, you don't have to do the extra layer of verification for an investor. So you're not using general marketing, you're not using general advertising, you're only sharing that transaction with the database that you already have built. And that's a big difference. So, we don't have to validate that investor and go through these huge efforts to validate the investor. We can trust the investor at their word. There's guidance and not case law, but there's precedent, if you will, from the SEC and FINRA that going with the investor's word is enough in a Reg D 506B. It is not enough in a Reg D 506C. So I think that that's really a shift that we saw, and we said, hey, we're going to go try a Reg D 506C. We're going to do it with the Hard Rock Hotel. We're going to get a ton of press. We're going to really, truly use marketing and general solicitation. But by doing that, we created the extra onus and the extra burden on ourselves that we now have to verify all those investors as opposed to just trusting them with their word.
That's a great answer. I mean, it's just absolutely, I get it, and gosh, if I get it, anybody who's watching this ought to get it. Hi, I'm Howard Klein, host of CRE Radio and TV. If you would like to attend the IMN Crowdfunding Conference or the West Coast Bank and Financial Institutions Conference, both at the Fairmont Hotel in Santa Monica, California, on September 8th through September 10th, click on one of the links to your right. And don't forget to use the discount code CRE for your 10% discount.